call may be monitored or recorded. Right. So Edison, congratulations on a score of 750. Fabulous score.
You?
How do you feel?
Of course, I feel excited when I press the submit button of the writing, and the score appeared immediately in 3 seconds, and I saw 750, and I almost shout out in the test center. Of course, I'm very happy about the score.
Awesome. Well, indeed, I think it is quite an achievement to actually get to where you have. I know for a fact that the last time we spoke was on the 4th of September, and that's when we discussed the 720 that you got in the first attempt. And I know
It's
you're very
730 actually.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was 7:30, and I know for a fact that we discussed this, and you were keen on taking the retake because you sure that you were very certain that yes, I can go ahead and do that, do this and get to the next level. So yeah, but I definitely remember that conversation, and when somebody is already at 7:30 with the Q50 that you were on, right?
The first time was Q51.
And then we were trying to replicate
Yeah,
the
the
second time as well.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little skeptical about the Q51 repeat it on the next one as well. So, I was a little apprehensive, but then you kind of pushed me and you said, no, I know for a fact I can do that. And then I really admire that about you for sure, because you had the zeal to go ahead and go that extra mile and push me hard enough to convince, or at least you convince me good enough to say that, yes, you have that caliber and you can get there. So yes, definitely admire that. Thank you so much for doing that. That was a good takeaway for me as well, But so let's come to your attempt. So how was the attempt on the 23rd of September?
I think this time is quite different from the second time, because second time I was nervous because the first attempt was like a 640, and I must work extra hard, and I'm very afraid that I can't achieve a good score in my second attempt. So that's why for the second attempt it's more nervous. But after I've got a 730, I know I can achieve the 700s, and I'm confident that I can do better. So I think in the third attempt on the 23rd of September, actually I'm not nervous. I just went into the test center and I tried to do my best, and yeah, the result it's good enough for me.
That's a good point you actually put there, because I think the confidence level that you had from your second attempt carried through to your third attempt, and that's probably the reason why you were not so anxious, and you were a little more confident. And as you rightly said, I was at ease and you were calm and you were able to go ahead and go through the normal process with this. I think that played in your favor as well. So GMAT is a test of your nerves as well. So I think you did that fairly well. Well, other than that, so anything that you would like to that you'd like to highlight which was different from what your previous attempts were, something that you would like to let us know, or your fellow GMAT takers know that they should be cognizant of?
I think it's important that after the second attempt we had a call, and I sent you the ESR, and we analyzed the weak points of my second attempt, and I follow your instructions again and do multiple practices on the number properties. I remember, as well as the critical reasoning, and those are my weak points in my second attempt. And yes, I typically work on these two areas between my second and my third attempt. And I think for the quantitative part, I think I'm actually quite confident before going into the test center. And this time, although I'm like one point lower than the second attempt, I got a Q50 this time. But I think my performance are actually quite stable for the quant part. And for the verbal part, of course, there are some improvements from V38 to V41 now in the third attempt. And yeah, I think that's actually a great help from you and from e-GMAT as well in preparation for my third attempt.
Right. Well, actually, that's a good point. I know, you know, we did this. We discussed your initial ESR on the 4th of September, and then we went about how to tackle uh, the quant section, which was already at the Q51, and we're trying to improve your verbal score, which was at a V38. But all along, I think end of day when we look at you know what we discussed, I think it was a fruitful discussion because I see results here, and you know although there's a difference of 1 point on the quant side of things, but again it's there is an element of luck as well involved in that, so that's probably something that we do not really have to worry about. But end of day, your verbal score improved by 3 points, and that's something that actually propelled your score to the 750 that you actually got. So I'm glad about that part. Um, so you know, some of the things that I'd like to understand is a you know what was the support mechanism like? I mean, uh, were you able to leverage the support mechanism that we had in place? Were you happy with the support mechanism provided to you?
Yes, of course. I think the support mechanism is actually very effective for e-GMAT because I remember the first time when I was preparing for my second attempt like a week before, and I was very nervous because I consider it as an all or nothing because the first attempt before joining e-GMAT was really disastrous, and
Right.
that's why I
So
was.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. So your first initial first attempt was a 640, and this was back in 2019, right?
No. Actually, this is in let me see, July,
July of
late
20.
July this year, late July
Okay.
this year. So when I got a 640, I remember after 3 days, I did a lot of research on GMAT Club, and a
Uh,
lot of people recommended e-GMAT, and that's why after 3 days of my first attempt, I joined e-GMAT. And yes, and I retook the exam in the second attempt was in the 2nd of September. So I've got um just like 30 days to
that's right.
prepare for my second attempt, and I was very nervous 1 week before the second attempt, and that's why I sent you guys an email and to see how to improve my I mean, help my preparation in the last few days. And of course, you called me and we set up a plan, and we reviewed what I have done on the e-GMAT platform, and which part should I improve. And I think it's actually helped me a lot because especially in the quant part, I did not very well in the algebra. I remember in the first attempt, and we made a plan, and I worked quite hard on the algebra part. And in my second attempt, I got a Q51 thanks to the strategy. I can say.
Well, actually, it is all your abilities. Honestly, I just probably had to just direct you in the right, you know, in the right manner, and that's all that was there. But it's primarily to all the credit goes to your abilities that you were able to build. So help me understand. Did you follow the methodologies that was taught to you by our platform? Did you employ
Yes,
those in?
actually, I think personally being Asian, of course, and you know it as well. We're good at math. Like, so I think the part that e-GMAT helped most is the verbal part, because I remember in my first attempt I scored a V30, which is much lower than the official prep test that I've scored. I don't know why, but I found out that my foundation in verbal is actually quite weak, especially in sentence correction,
Mhm.
because I've got like quite a number of mistakes in sentence correction, not even in the mock, but also of course in the first real examination. And I think what e-GMAT emphasize is focus on the logic rather than the rules. And this is actually very helpful to me because before understanding this, I was always like trying to spot the grammatical mistakes in the choices before, instead of understanding the meaning of the whole sentence or the logic. And that's actually a trap. And so after understanding this the things taught by e-GMAT in the sentence corrections session. Actually, I've got 91st percentile in sentence correction, I guess, which is a really huge improvement. I was like 60 something percentile before. And this is a huge improvement. It helped me to increase the score from V30 to ultimately V41 in my third attempt.
Fabulous. So you are saying when you say 91%, you're referring to your Scholaranium quizzes? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, right. And yes, in the Sigma mock exam.
Yes. You know what? Since you brought it up, I'm gonna quickly go over this as well. So, you know, you can probably take a look at this for the last time in your journey. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know if you can see this. So, Edison, this is your attempt. The course is no longer active, but when you look at your scoring attempts, you know, really fabulous scores. You got high 80s across SC, CR, and slightly lower on the RC section. But again, you are above the benchmark that we prescribe. When you look at the hard level questions, again, fabulous performance on the SC front. Overachieved CR hard level questions and accuracy as well. Slightly again lower on the RC section, but I wouldn't really worry about that too much now that we already have a V41 in our pocket. So you know, that's something that's definitely going to stay with you. So your last attempt was a 730 on the 19th of September, and that's where you got a 91 percentile in your SC section. So I remember discussing that bit as well. Well, so, you know, we've discussed how the methodologies helped. Let's talk about a little about how did you manage to use the platform to your advantage. You know, did the Scholaranium bits help? Did the mock test really provide you the guidance, or at least provide you your weaknesses and the strengths that you can analyze and see what you need to work upon?
I would definitely like to talk about the mock test on e-GMAT. I think it's really much more accurate than the official prep test. Why do I say so? Because before my first attempt in June, I guess I've done all the six official prep tests on the GMAT on MBA.com. I scored 770 and 780.
Okay.
Yes, I remember in the fifth and the sixth official prep test, and the lowest one among the six tests I scored was 710. 710. And but the first attempt was a 640. To me, of course, many people said I might be too nervous, or but I think it won't be such a huge difference, like 140 points difference with my real exam. I really think that the questions on the official prep test are actually much more easier than the real test. And that's why I underestimated the difficulty of the real examination.
Yeah.
But when I did the mock test, the Sigma mock test on e-GMAT, I think the difficulty is actually the difficulty level is actually more similar to the real examination. And I really appreciate it. And as you see, I did 3 tests, and I gradually improved from 690 to 730 and 740.
That's
and
right.
I think the level it's more realistic, and the questions are actually similar to the real examination.
I'm glad you brought this up. So one of the things that we actually, we tell our students is we have the world's best mock test, or a Sigma mock test is the world's best mock test that's available to you when you compare that to the actual GMAT, and your statements actually validate that fact. I'm really happy to hear that you know you were able to realistically gauge what your abilities are and compare that to your actual GMAT attempts. So yes, well done. Thank you so much for that. Means a lot to us. So let's talk about a little on your journey that you intend to go ahead and proceed after your GMAT. So this is your first hurdle. You know, I'm sure you'll agree. So what are your plans now? What is it that you are looking to do?
Actually, of course, I'm applying for MBAs in round 2 this year, and the
Hmm.
deadline is January 2021
Hmm.
for applying for the class of 2023.
Okay.
And I've shortlisted some schools now, and including Stanford, Harvard, Yale, London Business School,
Hmm.
MIT. I'm also exploring other schools, but I'm actually preparing for the essays.
Okay.
I've started writing essays for some of the schools, and I'm actually still attending a lot of online seminars or overviews of the
Mhm.
business schools. And yes, I'm doing some research now, and I'll definitely apply to approximately 4 to 5 schools in round 2.
Well, I think based on what your scores are, I haven't really taken a look at your professional candidature, so I will have to probably look at that. But now that you've already started on the on your application process, if you require assistance and you want us to provide you details of consultants, we can definitely help you out with that as well. So that's something that I can probably have that sent across to you for you to look at, and we can take it out from there. Um, Apart from that, do you have any suggestions, recommendations to your fellow GMAT takers who might be attempting a test probably in the near future?
I think we have to be patient
Right.
when we start to use the platform, because in the beginning I was also impatient. I tried to skip some concept files and directly do the quiz or tests, but the results are really not good.
Mhm.
And I realized I've missed a lot of things that I thought I understood, like
Mhm.
from since I was a kid.
Right.
But indeed, I had wrong concepts for maybe over 10 years. So that's why I think it's important for us to go back to the concept files and understand the correct concepts, as well as the strategies to approach certain kinds of questions. And that is very important. And I really appreciate the custom quiz in the Scholaranium
Mhm.
um, in the later stage of the preparation, because I can select the difficulties as well as joining different kinds of questions together. For example, RC and CR and SC in a short quiz of probably 10 questions. It gives me a feel of the real examination,
Yeah.
rather than like focusing on SC for 10 questions and focusing on RC for 10 questions. I think
Yeah.
that is actually a very, very good feature of
Right.
the platform. And I think my fellow GMAT takers on e-GMAT platform, they can really make use of this feature of the platform to boost their confidence.
Well, honestly, thank you for sharing your insights. I'm sure our fellow GMAT takers who will be taking the test in the near future will find your recommendations helpful. I'm certain, because you've come through the entire journey, you understand the challenges, you've had your own share of highs and lows, and it really helps when somebody who's been successful after 3 attempts, or at least on the third attempt, when you share your experiences, your fellow GMAT takers would probably be able to relate to your experiences. Of course, that's one. Second of all, it is a motivational factor which is inculcated into them, and when they hear somebody who's overcome their challenges over the period of time and got to their magical target score that they were trying to achieve. So, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your thoughts there, and